We often think of ourselves as the most advanced civilization Earth has ever seen. And yeah, there's some pretty advanced stuff out there, from smartphones to spaceships. But what if we aren't the first? What if millions of years before us there was another civilization? One so advanced they would rival our own, but ultimately meet their end in a cataclysmic deluge. A civilization whose echoes still remain and can be found throughout the world today. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, and this is Echoes of the Past, where we look at the evidence for ancient civilizations lost to time, either physically or culturally. Today, we're looking at 5 clues that pre-flood civilizations really did exist. Before we jump into it, I want to let you all know about my podcast available online. It's a show about all things ancient tech, archaeology, and unexplained, with new episodes every week. Number 5, the ruins beneath the Black Sea. In the late 1990s, 2 amateur divers exploring the Black Sea off the coast of Bulgaria stumbled upon some strange objects resting on the seabed over 100 meters below the surface. They were perfectly preserved because of the cold, oxygen-free waters, and they looked like huge blocks of pavement. With further investigation, it became clear these weren't natural rock formations, but rather large, flat stones systematically arranged in lines. Soon after, a full-scale research project began excavating the site, which eventually revealed enormous structures previously thought to be the stuff of myth. Megalithic walls, roads, docks, and other features of an advanced civilization were uncovered. This underwater city was soon named Herakleion, after a legendary city from Greek mythology that was said to have been destroyed by an earthquake and tsunami and sunken beneath the waves. While it's unlikely that the legendary city is the same as the real one, if it was ever a real place at all, the sheer scale of the city is truly mind-boggling. Structures stretch for hundreds of meters and date back to the 6th century BC, making them thousands of years older than anything else in the region. Unfortunately, funding for excavations has dried up, and much of the site remains unexcavated. Regardless, what has already been uncovered suggests the existence of an advanced Neolithic culture capable of great feats of engineering and construction. As intriguing as the idea of a pre-flood civilization is, archaeologists remain skeptical that the site's true age can be proven. Many believe the settlement dates to around 3000 BC, well after the supposed global flood. Still, the possibility that humans had developed such advanced technology in the Black Sea region 8,000 years ago makes the site of Herakleion one worth watching in the future. 4. The enigmatic site of Göbekli Tepe. Located in southeastern Turkey, the archaeological site of Göbekli Tepe might just be the most important site of the 21st century. Discovered in 1963 by German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt, the site is a huge complex containing dozens of circular enclosures filled with T-shaped pillars decorated with strange animal and geometric carvings. Because it dates back to around 9500 BC, it predates writing, pottery, and even agriculture, making it one of the oldest human settlements ever discovered. Because it's so old, many have suggested that Göbekli Tepe represents the birthplace of civilization. Others argue that it was some kind of religious center. However, mainstream archaeologists struggle to explain how a society without metal tools or even domesticated animals could have constructed such a large and intricate site. Its discovery directly challenges the traditional narrative of human development, suggesting that human societies were far more advanced in the Neolithic period than previously thought. If Göbekli Tepe was occupied by a technologically advanced culture, it could be the closest thing we have to a real-life version of the mythical Atlantis. It's certainly possible, but as always, the truth probably lies somewhere in between. Number 3. Ancient maps showing an ice-free Antarctica. For the last 35 million years, Antarctica has been covered in ice. At one point during this time, however, the continent was free of ice caps and may have been home to a lost civilization. Or maybe not. Some believe this theory is backed up by ancient maps that show an ice-free Antarctica, including Piri Reis map, which was created in 1513 by a Turkish admiral and cartographer. Another is the map segment known as the Oved Sea map, which comes from a 13th century manuscript. Even more interesting is a map found carved into a stone tablet at the Abu Mina archaeological site in Egypt. The tablet dates back to 4500 BC, more than 6,000 years ago. On the tablet, the continent of Antarctica is shown completely free of ice, as well as a landmass that very closely resembles South America. Taken at face value, these maps would suggest that the Americas and Antarctica were connected at some point in the past, perhaps even allowing for prehistoric people to travel between the two land masses. However, the maps don't account for the fact that Antarctica has been covered in ice for tens of millions of years. So they must be wrong, right? Well, yes, that is the official consensus. Most archaeologists agree that ancient cartographers simply drew what they knew based on second-hand accounts and didn't actually witness an ice-free Antarctica themselves. It's likely that the continent depicted on the maps is actually a stylized representation of the North Star and not the continent of Antarctica at all. Still, the idea that advanced civilizations may have flourished in Antarctica prior to its permanent glaciation is an intriguing one. 2. The Sumerian king list's impossible reigns. The Sumerian king list is exactly what it sounds like, a list of Sumerian kings starting from the mythical Gilgamesh and going all the way down to the Babylonian king Nabonidus, who reigned from 556 to 539 BC. The list shows that the kings ruled for incredibly long periods of time, with some claiming reigns of up to 1,000 years. The longest individual reign belongs to the semi-mythical king Alulim, who allegedly ruled for a staggering 29,000 years. Now, obviously, the Sumerians couldn't have been around for 29,000 years. Humans only evolved in Africa around 200,000 years ago, and Sumerian culture only lasted from roughly 3000 BC until the rise of the Akkadians around 2350 BC. So why does the Sumerian king list include such impossibly long reigns? One suggestion is that the Sumerian kings are misinterpreting a much longer list, perhaps one that details the Anunnaki kings who came from the planet Nibiru and ruled over humanity. Proponents of this theory argue that the Anunnaki kept records of their reign, which were then misinterpreted by the Sumerians. To them, the numbers were seen as literal years, and not, say, years in their own culture or some other unit of measurement altogether. It's an interesting theory, but unfortunately, there's no way to prove it. And number 1, global flood myths with shared details. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence for a pre-flood civilization is the prevalence of flood myths around the world. Virtually every culture has a story about a great flood that devastated the earth and wiped out humanity, leaving only a few survivors. Now, you can write off any single flood myth as simply that, a myth. However, when we start to see patterns, things become a little more interesting. In almost all flood myths, a warning is given of an impending flood, usually in the form of an animal. In the case of the biblical story of Noah, it's a dove. In the Hindu version, it's a fish. The details vary, but the theme is constant. In each myth, there is a small group of people, usually a family, who are warned of the coming destruction and build a large boat in order to survive. Again, the specifics change, but the general plot remains the same. In the Hindu epic poem, the Mahabharata, the main character Manu is told to build a boat 7 days before the flood hits. He builds 7 compartments in his ship, one for himself and his wife, and one for each of their 4 sons. In the story of Noah, it's his sons and his wife that join him, along with 2 of every animal. The details are similar, yet different enough that it seems unlikely that they are all based on the same source. Instead, they may all be referring to the same historical event, a real flood that killed most of humanity and wiped out an advanced civilization. Again, we can't prove any of this, but it's an interesting theory nonetheless. What do you think? Are there any other clues we missed? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe for more. And as always, thanks for watching.